What's going on, everybody? This is the Roaming Prepper channel. I'm your host, Pete, and I'd like to thank all of you once again for joining me on the channel. And today I want to talk about budget meal prepping and food prepping. Again, this is tied in with my book, Defensive Preparedness, which, again, if you haven't heard of it, is essentially learning how to prep during hard economic times and prepare for hardships. Not just the zombie apocalypse, which, let's face it, I'm way more likely to get hit by a car or get laid off from my job than I am to meet a zombie. Although, depending if you go through LA or Austin, you might actually see the zombies too, but I digress. That's another video. So today I want to give you some stats, and I actually had to do some digging because I wanted to be sure I was telling you accurate stuff. So, right now, I mentioned on a previous video, food at home prices are forecast to rise between 2 and 3% in 2025, based on the USDA's latest outlook. But with tariffs looming and trade wars going back and forth as the countries negotiate out, certain staples like rice has already gone up 1.2%. Also, I've been doing a lot of meal prep videos, saving food, stuff like that. So I want to talk about a few things, and I want to make sure I got my ducks in order. So I actually wrote down and cut and paste some notes. So 2025 is the situation between the tariffs and the supply chain. Remember, markets, as a guy who's been in the industries for 30 years, the market's never perfect. So when they say, oh, the market will get better, well, certain aspects will get better, but others will get worse. And being prepared allows you to kind of pivot depending on what's going on. Think of a boxer, right? A boxer's gonna get hit, doesn't matter how good he is. But if he knows how to roll with the punches, block certain ones, take certain ones, they do better in the ring. The same thing with us. We kind of learn to roll with the punches, dodge the punches, and try to get ahead as best we can. So USDA is forecasting 2.4% rise in food, at-home food, overall. Staples like rice and beans now, because of the tariffs and because of some trade issues, could be going up as much as 3%. And it doesn't sound like much, but that's 3% as of right now. Right now, we are anywhere from 25 to 70% higher than we were in 2021. So yeah, we took a really big, steep hit over the last 5 years. And the problem is when you take a big hit like that, where your staples go up 40, 50, 60, 70% in 5 years, I promise your pay doesn't go up 40, 50, 60% in those same 5 years. Unless you either start dealing drugs and guns or you got a really big bonus. Most of us don't have that happen. I would hope not, about the drugs anyway. But that's going to be a problem. Now, back in 2018, the tariffs added 11% to pork products. You remember there was the bacon shortage in 2021. There was another issue because of the going back and forth import-export. So again, as EBT is still lagging, right? Payments are still going out. It's going to take time. There was a 30-day vacuum on consumption in the society. You add to that as that money comes in, people are now going to try and catch up and buy food right as we get into the Thanksgiving holiday, which is what, a week away. You're going to have a really high demand. So you need to start looking for those grocery deals, not just before Thanksgiving, but after Thanksgiving. Because remember, the big meals are Thanksgiving, right? A lot of people kind of do different things for Christmas. Thanksgiving is usually the big meal. So look for those deals post-Thanksgiving. The turkey's going to go on sale. The canned yams are going to go on sale. Bunch of stuff gets real cheap because now they want to kick it out the door for the next season. And that's a kind of place you can do some benefits. So remember, chapter four, my book, I believe it was chapter 4, is prep what you eat. Don't get stuff you don't want to eat. That just doesn't make any sense. So make sure, if you're not sure what you want to prep, try things. Go get some new stuff. Like, you can get rice and beans, the normal stuff. Get some stuff you're familiar with, and then get some stuff you're not, and give it a try. You can make it a taste testing at the house. Like the other day, I found Dr. Pepper pork and beans. Dr. Pepper flavored pork and beans. It was actually pretty good. I bought 4 cans. It was a little pack. I'm like, I'll try it. The worst case that happens, you know, I'd throw out a couple of cans. No, it was good. Now I can't find it again, so oh well. But, you know, I know if I see it on the shelf, that's an option. So a few other things. Core staples, right? So the rice, the beans, the tuna. You can probably get 10, so a 1 pound bag of beans, I don't have them here, my little pinto beans, run me about $1.50 to $2 depending on the brand I get, maybe $1. I went to Costco, and if you buy the 15-pound bag or the 20-pound bag, your cost goes 75 cents per pound. That's a 25% decrease. Rice is even more so. So a bag of rice, like jasmine rice, if you get it at HEB or Kroger or United, is going to run you about $2 for a pound. I'm not talking about the box pre-made stuff. I'm talking about raw rice in a little bag. Be about $1.50 to $2. If you get more generic, like white rice, probably a little closer to $1. Go to Costco or to Sam's and look at the 15 or 20 pound or 25 pound bags. Your cost is now going, and I just looked today, anywhere depending on the type of rice from 40 cents per pound to 80 cents a pound. But if I'm paying $2 for a 1 pound bag of jasmine rice and I can get it down to 70 cents per pound by buying in bulk, that's a big difference. Now you may say, well, I can't eat 25 pounds of bag. I don't know what to do with it. Well, that's where Mylar bags come in handy. That's where food savoring, if you're a canning person, you can can food, you know, can recipes. Hell, if you have nothing else, you know what you do? You go to Walmart and you buy that cheap ass Tupperware and fill, well, not these little things, but you get what I'm saying, the big ass Tupperware, and you put the rice in there and you store it. As long as you can keep the bugs and humidity out, it won't kill your rice. Now you can dry can stuff, and not in the oven, I'm talking about dry goods canning, where you put it in a mason jar, you get that little adapter to suck out any air, and you throw a couple of oxygen absorbers in there. As a matter of fact, if you don't have a food saver, you can still throw the O2 absorbers in there, close the lid, and if you put enough, it's gonna suck the oxygen out. You might even hear it, it's gonna seal. And that's a great way to store that rice. And you absolutely can do it. And I've done videos on all this stuff, using mason jars for dry goods, putting rice and pasta in Mylar bags. If you gotta use a Tupperware, use a Tupperware. Now right here, this big glass mason jar right there is actually full of jasmine rice. That's half of a 25 pound bag I bought. I took half, put it in there. The other half went into Mylar, and it's stored out in the garage in a container with the Mylar in the container. So a few things to think about. Remember, they're also expecting, if you buy generic versus a name brand, you could save anywhere from 15 to 30%, according to my little statistics that I pulled up. You can meal prep for 7 days, and I've just done a bunch of videos on that. If you haven't seen them, go back in the last month, because like my whole October was about no EBT, and then EBT came back, but that still works, right? You can meal prep. You can do things like separate broccoli and you food savor it, right? This is raw broccoli. I can thaw it, stick it in the air fryer, and I got roasted broccoli. I can throw it in an Instant Pot with some rice, make broccoli and rice. There's so many things you can do, and this is just one easy example that I had handy. If you prep lunches, dinners, breakfasts are really easy. You could do a big batch of oatmeal and just reheat portions of it throughout the week. These kind of things, based on the numbers I was running and assuming what people eat and what don't eat, you know, your lunch or your breakfast, for instance, you can do a home breakfast, English muffin, egg, slice of ham, slice of cheese, and it ran me $1.50, $2 if I rolled it up. You go get an Egg McMuffin, it's gonna be $6. And it's not gonna be as good. You can at least control what you put in this muffin, the home muffin, and you can't control what McDonald's puts in theirs. So there's so many little things you can do. Now think about it. When do we go out to eat the most? It's when we don't have time or we didn't buy groceries. But if you meal prep, if you dedicate a day to grocery shopping and then a few hours to prepping meals, even if it's just the breakfast for the week or just the lunch for the week. It makes a huge difference in time and money. Now, Mylar bags come in handy for the dry goods. You put oxygen absorbers in there. They're a lot more compact. I've used mason jars. Actually, I have mason jars with food. I have Mylar with food. I kind of have a mix depending on what I had available at the time. So learn how to store food in different ways. You could even use the food saver for things like flour. Actually punch a hole in a 1 pound bag of flour, put it in a food saver bag and pull a vacuum on it, and basically made it into a brick of flour. I've done a video on that, and that flour is actually in this little jar that says flour. And these are the things I use day to day. The pancake batter, the sugar, the oats, the walnuts, that's more sugar. Man, you got a pile of sugar here. I don't know when that happened. I think the missus snuck in sugar on me. But in any case, the point being, there are things you can do. So a few other things, a few other tips before I close this one out. So if meat's expected to go up about 12% with all the tariffs and then just the cost of diesel and fertilizer and feed and all that. A few things. The mini prep or micro prepping, right? You go out, you get 2 cans of green beans, buy 2 extra ones. The extra $2 ain't gonna kill you. You could get green bean cans for as cheap as 50 cents. Put 2 in your pantry and use 2 for dinner that night. And you do that every time. You get spaghetti, don't get just 1, get 2, put 1 in the pantry, 1 goes for dinner. You keep doing that over time, you will make a stockpile. Aim for something small, a 3-day supply of food. If you're new to this, then from there work for a week. Then after a week you say, okay, let's try 2 weeks. And then test your preps. Now when I say test your preps, actually take a weekend and say, okay, we're not gonna buy anything, eat out, we're only gonna make what we have here. And start digging through the stuff you prepped, stuff you have inventoried, and find a way to make meals out of it. You might have Spam and eggs for breakfast, and then you might have, I don't know, spaghetti and the marinara sauce. I showed how to make homemade marinara a couple of weeks ago. You might pull some tomato paste and tomato sauce and some spices, and bam, you got a homemade marinara. You thaw out some beef from the food saver and the bags in the freezer, and bam, really cheap meal. Practice every now and then cooking with what you're prepping. This is super important, and I can't say enough. And again, if we're expecting, I'm gonna read those stats back to you just so you can remember. 2.4% rise in food at home overall, with a 3 to 5% increase in staples like rice, beans, and breads because of fertilizer costs, partly due to tariffs, and also there was a drought in Brazil which really screwed some things up. Let me see, where was the other stat? Okay, milk is expected to jump 2.7%. You can stretch milk with soaked oats and basically make like your own oat milk. I've not tried that, so I can't speak to that. Or add a little water to thin out the milk. You can also use evaporated milk and use water to thin it out. It won't taste as good, but it still works, as functional. Also, remember you can save upwards of 10, 15, or up to 30% using generic versus name brand, because a lot of the manufacturers will manufacture both, but you get a name brand. It's slightly difference in quality, but still. And also, if you, in the next, so yeah, that was it. And then, oh, and also meats may be going up 12%. And if meat becomes an issue, you can swap for protein, beans or lentils for the meats, if the meat is a little too expensive for you. I do recommend investing in some pots and pans that are half decent. You don't have to go and get Tramontina or whatever the hell those bougie brands are, or Calphalon. You can go get Walmart brand, because you know what? I use those for years and they work just fine. Sam's Club has a restaurant supply aisle. Every Sam's Club does that I've been to. And you can get some great restaurant quality pots, pans, knives, spatulas, stuff like that. So don't rule out the generic stuff in the big box stores. You don't have to go name brand. And I have Sam's Club pans that have lasted me 7 years, and they're just fine. I mean, obviously, if you take care of them. So folks, that's it for this one. Now, what's your timeline, right? Like I said in my last video, I'm gonna repeat it. Supply chain, what we're consuming and eating and paying for today is based on the costs from anywhere from 30 to 60 days ago, okay? The changes in costs now are gonna hit our prices in 30 to 45 days, maybe 60 days from today. So from what I'm seeing in the various predictions and some of the financial forecasts, is you're looking at a 60-day window before holiday markups, and you're gonna see some, after the holiday, after Thanksgiving, you'll see some decreases, and then going into next year, when the new products come in, they're gonna be at a higher cost basis, so you're gonna pay more. So position yourself now for later on. And remember, if you have kids, you can bulk out with the rice, with the beans, and with the other stuff. And again, if you can't afford the 25-pound bag of rice, or you just don't think you'll consume it in a timely manner, split it with someone. Get some folks to split it with you. Then you just have a Mylar bag party or a sorting party, right? And you can buy foods as a group. You can buy a pallet. I've actually seen people do it. Buy a pallet of water. So a pallet of water has what, 30 cases, something like that. I mean, literally the forklift comes out and drops the pallet in your pickup truck. Well, you get 3 or 4 guys involved in that. Well, now you just do the math, divvy it up. Whoever paid for it, everyone give him the cash or Venmo, and off you go. So take advantage of the bulk. We are expected to see single-digit to maybe low double-digit grocery increases coming in 2026. Now, will that be forever? Probably not, but we don't know. And that's not factoring in God knows what else could be happening. So folks, plan accordingly, plan ahead, prep your meals, store your food, plan your stuff, all right? The whole idea about preparedness, again, defensive preparedness, knowing how to prepare for hardships during hard economic time. And a hardship can be anything from a hospitalization to a car accident, getting laid off, getting sick with a Rona again, and getting stuck at home and missing overtime, whatever the case may be. Be smart, be careful with what you do, and don't spend or get into any debt you don't have to. Now, some things you're gonna have to invest in. You know, if you need a new car to get to work, you know, it is what it is. But there's no reason we can't be smart about all the other things. In any case, this one ran a little longer than I intended, but I hope this was a useful message for you. And remember, as we go into the holidays, plan out and watch for the sales after Thanksgiving. They're gonna try and get rid of all that Thanksgiving related stuff. And canned yams will last 2 years. I mean, just look for it. And if you find some turkey on sale or ham on sale, you can freeze it in a food saver bag and make it last 2 years, because I've done it. So anyway, that's it for this one. Be good, be safe, God bless. I'm done, and I will see you on the next video. You guys be careful out there on the roads. If I don't get to do a live stream before Thanksgiving, I hope I can. Y'all have a blessed Thanksgiving. No drinking and driving. Uber is your friend, or just get drunk at home and then you don't have to drive. Anyway, you guys be good. We'll see you.